My name is Tanya, and I'm here to tell you about my journey in the Financial Peace University. I am not a member of your church. I live about an hour away, but I do know a few members of your church, Alicia and Andrea. And Andrea is the one who actually got me started on Financial Peace University. In December of 2010, Andrea was posting on Facebook about how she was going to change her life and how she was so proud she was going to help other people change her life. And one day I replied back and was like, "What are you talking about? How are you going to change your life?" And she told me the story about Dave Ramsey and the Financial Peace University. And I said, "Sign me up," because the last 2 years have been really, really rough for my husband and I and our children, and we need to make a change. The reason that we got ourselves into the predicament that we were in is when I was about 30 weeks pregnant with my second child, my husband came home from work and told me that he lost his job. We then moved out of our house and found a renter for our house, and we moved into a rental house. And in that situation, things would have been fine, except that we never changed our ways of shopping and spending and saying yes to everything, even though we were now living on unemployment and at half of the amount that he was previously making. So when Andrea told me about Financial Peace, I decided I had to do it because I had to make a change. I did not know then what I know now, that it was going to be much more than just getting a budget and getting out of debt. It was more of a life-changing, mind-altering experience. I also didn't know then how many secrets I was keeping from my husband and how many secrets we were keeping from each other and outside of our house also. We were living a lie. Because when he lost his job, we continued to live the way we always had lived. We just put everything on a credit card. And 2.5 years of unemployment turned into about $30,000 in debt on credit cards, which is a really scary number when you have 2 small kids, a wife who is a stay-at-home mom, and a husband who's unemployed who only makes $40,000 a year. It's a really scary number. So, needless to say, when Andrea said, "Come to Financial Peace," in January of 2011, I said, "I'm there." I started going, and immediately I was hooked. I was hooked on the concept of making a change, on coming clean, on getting out of debt, about how we can live better later if we just make a few sacrifices now. I was hook, line, and sinker. I was hooked. We immediately got our emergency fund by selling off everything in my house that was not stapled down. My kids literally thought I was going to sell all their toys. Don't tell them, but I did sell some of them. I was selling everything I could. I was going to garage sales and selling stuff in garage sales. I was going to resales and selling stuff in resales, dropping off old clothes at Once Upon a Child, selling stuff on eBay, selling stuff on Craigslist. If it wasn't stapled down, I sold it. So we got our emergency fund within like 10 days of starting Financial Peace, which was excellent. I was super pumped and super proud of ourselves. Then we started rolling the snowball. And that process was really hard for me at the beginning because my husband was still in serious denial and still did not want to know how much debt we had. So I had all the burden of knowing this information and all the burden of having to come up with a plan without having the support of my husband, who was partially at fault and 100% in the same pot with me. And so he didn't want to know about it, and so we still had a lot of tension in that area. So after we started rolling the snowball, we were knocking out all of our little credit cards, 1, 2, 3 at a time, and it was excellent. We continued to roll the snowball. We were shopping at Aldi for groceries. We were shopping at resale shops for the kids' new seasons of clothes. We went without, we went without, we went without. We said no to a lot of things, and it was very hard to say no. Now we're coming up on about August of 2010. We've been in Financial Peace for 8 months, doing the whole Dave Ramsey program for 8 months. Still rolling the snowball. it's getting more difficult because now the credit cards that we still have are the much higher amounts, and at this point we're about $25,000 in credit card debt, which is still an astronomical amount that no 20-something-year-old should have, but there we were. We continued to roll the snowball. My husband took side jobs. I took side jobs. I started sewing cloth diapers to make extra income at night after my kids went to bed. We were just doing crazy, crazy, intense things to get ourselves out of this position. And then in September, I decided my husband had to know our debt. He had to know because I couldn't fight this fight alone anymore. He had to be informed of why I kept telling him no and why it was really important that he didn't go out and use our debit card for things that weren't supposed to be used for. So I told him. And for the first time in about 3 years, I felt like I could breathe. Our debt wasn't any less. But the fact that I had a partner who now understood why I was working as hard as I was working, it made it so much easier for me. And you know what? He wasn't as mad at me as I thought he was going to be, because I think he realized that he was partly to blame also. He was the one who was also enjoying the comforts of what the things on our credit cards were. So I was relieved, and for the first time in our lives, in our marriage together, we actually had 100% open communication about everything in our marriage. I was always the one who was in charge of our finances, even previous to us getting in disastrous debt. I was always the one who was in charge of our finances, and for the first time, he was on board with me, and we sat down and we did budget meetings together, and he finally understood why the envelopes were important and why saving money on the groceries was important, and not spending the entire grocery fund could be used for other stuff other than buying more groceries that we didn't need. So it was really, really important. That was really the eye-opening experience, was telling my husband and feeling the weight of 3 years of secrets come off, and there really being no consequences other than now I have someone who can help me with this. From August and September, we struggled a little bit with coming clean and opening up about everything, and then we kicked it in high gear again, and we came up with a plan. This was drastic, but I know Dave Ramsey believes in drastic and believes in gazelle intensity, so here's what we did, which was, it was really drastic. My husband's job from 2 years ago when he got laid off sent him a piece of paper that said, "You have now been unemployed for long enough to be able to pull your pension out." And my husband at first said, absolutely no way is that even an option. And then I showed him the numbers. I said, "Babe, we lose $10,000 every quarter because of how awful the market is tanking." I said, "We pay $10,000 in interest on all these credit cards." So as soon as I showed him the math of it, that's what we did. I, to this day, still feel like we kind of cheated and didn't do the snowball debt the way Dave Ramsey's program says, but Andrea pats me on the shoulder and reassures me that I still had gazelle intensity, and I came clean and did the program with openness and with the intensity that was required, so no, I didn't cheat. So thank you, Andrea. So we did. We paid off all our credit cards. We paid off all our loans. The only outstanding debt that we still have is my student loans and our house. But we are still running through the Dave Ramsey program. We still have our emergency fund plus in our savings account. We still say no to about everything. My 4-year-old knows what the word budget means. My 2-year-old doesn't have tantrums because I tell him no to things because he understands what budget means. The dogs still get the cheap dog food. We still don't have cable. We still don't have internet access on our cell phones. I'm still living the Dave Ramsey motto of live like no one else now so I can live like no one else later. And I'm pretty proud of where we've come from and how far we've gotten, and the journey ahead doesn't seem so daunting. We are in major efforts to get rid of the mortgage for the house that we don't live in. We're looking into a short sale, and we're looking into deed in lieu of, which I know is not for everybody, and pretty much our entire family thinks we're crazy for thinking about it, but in our eyes, it doesn't matter if it hurts our credit score because we don't need credit anymore. We have cars that are paid off, we have a house that we rent, we have no intentions of going anywhere anytime soon, so we don't really foresee the reasons of letting 50 points hinder us from spending $6,000 a year so someone else could live there. So we are in the process of that and paying off my student loans, and we plan on being 100% debt-free within 18 months, and I'm really psyched to say that that is going to happen. So, if you are considering joining the Financial Peace University that Andrea and Danny run, I highly recommend it. It is amazing, and every time I need a little boost or a little motivation, I can join any Financial Peace University that's going on anywhere. If I just need a little class for motivation, it's kind of like AA for the spenders of the world. I can always hop in a class, and I highly recommend it, and you feel free to Facebook me if you want to know more information. Thanks for listening, and I'm sorry if you saw my kids hopping around in the background or anything. Bye, guys.